Morning. I've had a lot of time to think. I've been away. I've been to a conference on Women for Reform Judaism. I've been to California, a couple of really beautiful places. Saw cousins I haven't seen, friends, and also went to a climate conference at Techonomy. But that's for another day. What's really on my mind is us, Americans, and what I'm reading in the papers, and what I know is happening to all of us. I was brought up pretty similar to everyone else. You suffer in silence. Well, you know what? Suffering in silence really doesn't work. It just means you're suffering alone. And that's not what most people do to be content. Most folks, like those in Finland, they know what they like. They feel really privileged to have the state that they have, so that they have the benefits that they have, so they can pursue whatever job opportunity or creativity or anything that they want, irrespective of where they are in the stratification of classes. So when they ask Finns what makes them happy, they say it's not so much that they're really happy all the time. It's just that they feel content. And I look at us and I say, are we content? We've got all kinds of restrictions on our freedom. And Passover is still with us. And with Passover is the thought of freedom. Freedom from bondage. I don't think that most Americans can say they're free from bondage. No, sirree. We just suffer in silence. We don't band together. We don't unite as a group or groups. And we don't help each other out. So, when somebody is shot over here, well, people might mourn a little bit, but you don't see the entire country rising up and saying, it's enough. We want gun safety laws. We want to ban assault weapons. We want to know who's carrying guns. I don't have to know particularly, but I think local law enforcement should know, and certainly mental health people should know who's a danger to society. In Great Britain, when they thought, and they meaning the citizenry thought, that childcare was a necessity for everyone who was earning $100,000 and less to be totally paid for, they voted it into their budgets. And now people who are in the lower and the middle classes can get free health care as well as free child care. Do we do that here? No. 70% of Americans can say they're for gun control. Does it happen? No. 70% of Americans can say they're for reproductive rights. Does it happen? No. 70% of Americans can say they want better education. Does it happen? No. And why? Because we suffer in silence, and we don't speak to each other, and we don't compare with each other to see how are our neighbors being affected. We're all in our little bubble. Nobody's supposed to talk about what's really bothering you. But if you don't talk about it, you don't realize that with all of us suffering, we're all feeling the same way. I don't understand it. We're probably the only nation where people don't march in protest. In Israel, they don't have a problem marching in protest. In Great Britain, throughout the entire summer, all the railroads, the postal workers, the folks in NHS, they all struck. The railroads, as I said, they struck. Here, we don't seem to have any solidarity at all. And why is that? Well, I think there's one simple reason. You're so consumed with the culture wars and hating this group or that group or the other group, you're not looking at what's really important. And what's important is our lives and our relationships and our kids and their education. That's what's important. The culture wars. Do I care if someone's a Republican? If they've been killed, I feel bad. Do I care if they're a Democrat? If they've been killed, I feel bad. They're human. And that's what it's all about. Having human values, not the politics. Sure, the politics affects us, but it can affect us in a good way if we say what kind of society we really want. Do we want health care for everyone? Well, we ought to get people to vote for it. And it should be on the agenda. And if the political party you're supporting doesn't allow it, vote them out. Write in new candidates if you don't like one party or another. But do something constructive. 48,000 people died in 2021 from gun violence. No other country on the planet has said this has happened there because guns just aren't as prevalent. We've got folks dying in the hundreds of thousands from opioid addiction and other addictions. And why is that? That's because they too are too prevalent in society, and we don't have the mental health professionals to care for anyone. We don't have it in our jails. We don't have it in our schools. We don't have it in our communities. And you know what? We really need it. 275,000 kids have become orphaned because of COVID-19. That's a lot of children, and it's a lot of children with problems. And everyone in their family who survives is infected. So we got to stop suffering in silence and start acknowledging that we're all part of the human race, and that when people die, it really does affect us. When people are ill, we really do care about that person. When people are harmed and disrespected, it's not right. There's got to be more to our lives than only thinking about the politics. Because the politics should really depend on what it is we all want. What kind of society do we want for America? And trust me, we're not going to get that if we all suffer in silence and we say nothing. Just means that you're happy with what you got. And I can't believe everyone's that happy. No siree, not when people are dying every single day from gun violence, not when our health care is not as good as it should be, and our lifespan is lower than Great Britain and lower than Australia. It's 76 now In other countries, they can live into their 90s and later and have a good quality of life. South Korea didn't have a great healthcare system at one point in time. However, they changed and they've got great healthcare. And maybe their people are a little hypochondriacal. So they talk about their ailments, but if they get sick, at least they take care of it and they take care of themselves. What are we doing here? If we don't take care of our bodies and we don't nurture ourselves, we're really not there for anyone. And it doesn't pay to suffer in silence. I know. I did for so many years that it's taken me almost a decade to open up. Because I was told you didn't talk about anything. So I totally understand. But now it's time. Because I see the America that I love not progressing the way I'd like to see it. And I know that change has to come to America. And it's got to happen soon. Because we can't afford to live off of fossil fuels for this long a period of time. Not when the planet is warming. Not when we're able to now see just how warm it really is. The facts are in. So let's stop with the artificial issues that pit each of us against the other. Let's start thinking about what kind of an America do we want? What kind of life do we want to live? And if we really care about families and family planning and health care, well, it would be nice if people had a choice, if women had a choice to stay home or go to work, instead of everyone in the family now working and not making a decent living. That can be changed too. There's a lot of resources in America. Why should only a few people be able to tap into them and not the rest of us? So my message? Don't suffer in silence anymore. The only thing it does is it makes people believe you're happy. You're happy with the status quo. You don't care. Well, it's a sad state of affairs if you don't care that over 48,000 people a year die from gun violence. It's sad. The same thing with the opioids. The same thing with COVID. We had over 1 million deaths. We didn't need to do that. And there are remedies. But not keeping silent, that's the way to go. Protest. Get with the other people who want the unions. Save the jobs here in America. Tell your congressman you don't want tax breaks for corporations that go overseas. You want good union jobs here in America. Demand it, and then vote. Vote for people who will listen to you and not the corporations that pay their fare. So, I guess my being home with a little bronchitis and a little fatigue means my brain is just very active. And I hope you guys don't get it out there, though I'm hearing it's going around. So maybe in a way it's a good thing. Everyone will get a chance to sit and think. Take care, everyone. Have a blessed day and think about What kind of an America do you want? We can have it all.